Hey Exiles, what the just happened? Path of Exile 2 player numbers are rising on Steam. I am playing PoE 2 longer than ever before and loving this patch more than all 3 previous ones, and we keep setting records with this Path of Exile 2 private league. This video is going over the Second Wind saga, talking about all the slots, the current vibes of the league, what's going on build-wise, and much more. I just need to talk about this. We keep telling people it's over, don't come, there's no more room, but you know what keeps happening?
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Okay, let's kick it off with the slot saga, but before we do, make sure if you like my content, like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. So for those of you who do not know, private leagues are crowdfunded, meaning people can contribute points to add more player slots to the league. This league was thought to have around 2,000, 3,000 players upon its initial launch. However, we hit 20,000 players quite rapidly after I released my last video on this subject, and then Grinding Gear Games upped the limit to 40K. Well, by launch of the Second Wind Private League, we hit that as well, and I told everybody, GGG is not giving any more slots. They're not increasing the player slot. We cannot crowdfund anymore. However, they reached out to me after I reached out asking for the increase multiple times, and they said, it's not going to happen. It's not happening. It's not well, it happened. They reached out on Monday their time and said, okay, we're upping the limit to 50,000. And if that fills, if that is hit, we might up it again. And well, early in the morning on my time Monday, we have gone over 50,000 player signups. However, we have only funded 43,000 so far. Fret not, people are contributing more points right now, and we, meaning me, Localhole, Dead Rabbit, are in talks with a sponsor to provide more slots so we can hit that 50,000 number, and all the people who want to play Second Wind can play. And that sponsor, by the way, is Icon, who has funded many slots for this league, around 6,000. They spent several $1,000s doing so, and overall, as a community, not counting the 10,000 slots Grinding Gear Games has provided, if we fund 40,000 slots, that'll be $24,000 crowdfunded for this private league, which is just bonkers. I've already spent several $100s in points from supporter packs funding the league, as have many other people. If anything, this really shows that players wanted some sort of reset after all the temple changes, the Holton hot fixes, and everything that affected the economy for many players. And people just wanted a fresh start too. Who's to say? I mean, the economy, it's looking interesting right now in the private league. It's obviously SSF light because there are only, tens of thousands of players as opposed to hundreds of thousands of players in the game right now. So it is a very different experience. I'm quite interested to see how it's all going to evolve and shape up in the next few weeks here. Because yes, we do have temple enjoyers in this league too. However, I gotta say, everybody in the Discord, in the global chat, which is /2426, by the way, is just incredibly chill, and the vibes have been great. It's been a league start without the true rush feeling that lots of people tend to have. Everybody in chat is just being kind to each other and joking around. It's honestly, it's very different from a typical league start, and I'm loving it. And we are almost certain to do this in the future, deeper into a Path of Exile 2 league. However, I think this is lightning in a bottle. I don't think that the stars are going to align and we're going to hit player numbers like this again. I could always be wrong though. Like I mentioned in my previous video, the Second Wind Fate of the Val League is on PoE Ninja, so you can actually look at the ladder and the class distribution for people who have their characters public and are above a certain level threshold. Now, I've always looked at ascendancies when it comes to this, but my friend Sir Gog had a great observation that we should actually be looking at the weapon breakdown, and that is a little bit more interesting of a way to look at how people are playing PoE 2. We can see at the top with 22%, we have staff, then bow and quiver at 16%, crossbow at 12, wand focus at 10, quarterstaff at 7, talisman all the way down at 6. So a lot of people are going the Comet route, the Blood Mage route. They are using spells. People are not as invested into talismans as I thought they were. I'm playing a Smith of Kitava Wolf and having a blast, but a lot of people are using what the meta is in the core league, what has been figured out to be the best thing this patch. Because if you do go to the core Fate of the Val League, you see Blood Mage is sitting at the top. That was not that way for the longest time. You look at week 1, it was Pathfinder, Shaman, Oracle, then Blood Mage all the way down at 7%. If you go to week 2, Blood Mage is moving up at 10%, and as people figure out that Blood Mage is the way, they are funding their secondary, maybe tertiary characters, it's at 14%, and then if you go to week 4, it's all the way up at 17%, and the latest snapshot, of course, today, 18%. And that is mighty similar to our own league. If you are currently playing Second Wind, let me know what build you decided to play in this league. Are you with me? Did you stick with talismans and the druid stuff, or are you trying something more meta, more figured out, or something completely unexpected and different for this very chill environment? Now, one thing I noticed during this private league is that there's a lot of room for improvement for Path of Exile 2 private leagues, and we have a bunch of feedback for grinding your games in this regard. Tools for admins, ways for players to see where they are in the private league, a whole bunch of stuff that we are sending to grinding your games. And after seeing the popularity of Second Wind, it seems like Grinding Your Games is considering moving a little bit faster on making some changes here. Next, a brief bounty update. Most of them are finished, including the race to level 100. If you'll remember, Guy That Died said, the first person to get to level 100 before me, if they beat me, I will give $1,000. Well, guess what? Hoffin beat Guy That Dies, who was the second to level 100 and earned $1,000 as a bounty. Insane. And yes, he used the temple to achieve this. The more I see the variations of temple, the more I'm convinced that this is actually an insane mechanic, and I cannot wait to see the changes GGG makes to push the temple to core in 0.5. This is going to be a fundamental system in Path of Exile 2, and once abuse cases are rooted out, it's going to be such an interesting way to interact with the game if you're into the temple and that sort of stuff. Okay, I know grinding your games don't care about retention, and some of you guys don't care about retention either, but this is so cool. I just had to point it out. If you'll remember, Fate of the Val was one of the worst retention leagues in PoE 2 so far. I know we've only had 4, but it was dropping very fast. But you'll see, if you go down here, it's the blue line, guys. When we launched Second League, it has caused a resurgence of people back to Fate of the Val. If you go right here, we had a 90,241 on day 28, and then we had a rise to 94,000 as the peak, and then 101,040 as the peak. We were returning, we were gaining players again, and this is about a month into the league. It's so fascinating to see. At this point, if you look at your screen, it's at 34.8% of players retained 30 days into the league. That is now the second best PoE 2 league so far, beating out Rise of the Abyssal and Dawn of the Hunt by several percentage points. Really curious to see if this continues further down the line, if Second Wind will have legs, because one of the big things about Second Wind, obviously, is that it's trade light, it's SSF light. There's not nearly as many players playing Second Wind as the main league, and it's a very different experience. Not as many items are going to be listed. The currency exchange market might be a lot funkier. Lots of people might play for a few days and bounce. That was the warning I've heard many times about private leagues in the past. Well, we're going to see if that actually pans out over the next few days and weeks, because this league lasts 50, maybe 60 days. We might boost it to 60 days, all the way until the 0.5 launch in March or April. I really want to see if we're going to have to, pour one out for Second Wind, or if it'll have some staying power. I know for me, this league has been a roller coaster. I have a level 95 self-made druid, a bear, a shaman who could not down Arbiter of Ash, the Uber Arbiter of Ash, down the Arbiter of Ash very easily. Almost got him. I have a clip of that in shorts. And then this Smith of Kitava Wolf, maybe I'll try to push him to Arbiter too. All right, Exiles, this has been your Second Wind update. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure if you like the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe try to get in Second Wind. If we continue to grow that waitlist, maybe they'll increase the number of player slots up to 55,000, maybe 60,000. Crowdfunding will continue, and we are trying to confirm some more funds from our sponsor, Icon, to hopefully juice up the league more. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one or in game. Remember, stay sane, have fun.